Thank you so much for subscribing to So Beautiful magazine. We believe we have a really exciting teaching video for you today, and we do have some other exciting news. Now here is what I hope is your favorite magazine, So Beautiful magazine. Since 1987, when the magazine began, you have been saying, Martha, when are you going to move to 6 issues a year rather than 5? Well, consider it done. We have now moved to 6 issues a year, and we have some other exciting news for you also. You know, with every issue, which is certainly well over 100 pages, we also have an extra 16-page pull-out in the middle with all kinds of patterns and professional illustrations. Well, have some more exciting news. We don't have one pull-out, and starting with the next issue, we now have 2 pull-outs. That's 32 extra pages for you in every issue. As a subscriber, twice a year you will receive a brochure, a school brochure. We teach a school in Huntsville twice a year, and just to see what we're doing, and we certainly would like to invite you to come when you can. You also will receive a catalog with that. We have lovely French and English laces, if laces are not available locally in one of your local smocking shops or fabric stores. We have some other books here at So Beautiful, and I think you might like to know a little bit about them. French Sewing by Machine, the second book, is one of our best sellers. As a matter of fact, we've sold over 100,000 of these since they've been printed, and it has 13 sizes of the beautiful little dress, heirloom party dress that I'm sharing with you from 3 months. And let me show you a little version of that. Here's a little version of heirloom party dress from 3 months to 10 years. Our best-selling applique book has really been a fun one. We've sold so many of them also. Applique is very easy to do, and it has a little girl's pinafore, a little button-on-the-shoulder pinafore up to size 6, and a little boy button-on-the-shoulder suit up to size 6 also. Have you been wanting to learn how to smock? Well, we kind of thought a lot of people fell in that category. We wrote last year a book called The Joy of Smocking with all of the smocking techniques in it from beginning through super advanced picture smocking. It has lots of smocking design plates. I believe it's 13. Let me look on here to be sure. Yes, 13 smocking design plates. And it has this little nightgown. Let me check the size 6 months to 14 years. This precious little nightgown pattern in the book. Let me show you what the little nightgown looks like in white. And that's size 13 sizes also. Here's the little nightgown that is in this book. Shadow work embroidery has long been everyone's favorite type of embroidery. We have a sweet little shadow work book, Shadow Work the Easy Way, and shadow work directions are also found in all of our large books. Now here is a little dress with some really sweet shadow work embroidery down the front, as well as some Madeira applique. This is Madeira applique borders. Look at the Madeira applique border on the bottom of the skirt also. Later on in the show, we're going to teach you how to do Madeira applique. Dolls have been a favorite of mine for a long time. We have 2 doll books. One is called Heirloom Doll Clothes, and the other one is called Madame Alexander, 14-inch Girl Victorian Patterns. And these 2 little dolls right here are significant. You know why? They are some of the dolls that you will be seeing in our new television series produced for public television. And by the way, if you've noticed this lovely area that I'm in, we're calling this Martha's Sewing Room. We have produced 26 television shows for public television in conjunction with the University of Alabama Center for Public Television here in Tuscaloosa. Moving on over the table, the first book I'm going to show you is called Grandmother's Hope Chest. It is a 400-page hardcover book, and it has a pattern envelope with it with over $400 of patterns in the pattern envelope. But by the way, the book is not $400. The book is $39.95. Now, if you'll move over to the next book, you will see our Heirloom Sewing for Women book. This best-selling book, which has 5 blouse patterns in it, sized 2 to 24 women's sizing, has 450 pages, 50 of those in full and living color, and a wonderful pattern envelope that goes along with it also. The book on my far left is called Antique Clothing, French Sewing by Machine. That was our first hardcover book. It has 350 pages with a really nice pattern envelope with 4 little girls' dresses sized 4 to 14 and 1 very elegant ladies' blouse sized 4 to 24. So you see, we have a lot of wonderful products at Martha Pull & Company, but the most exciting product I have to tell you about is our new television series called Martha's Sewing Room. And by the way, I'm standing here in Martha's Sewing Room where we have filmed our new public television broadcasting series for you. In each one of our television shows, we feature garments, quilt squares, wonderful techniques, easy to sew techniques, crafts, silk ribbon embroidery or wool embroidery, antique clothing for you to enjoy and maybe even copy. We have a doll dress on every television show, and we have lovely items for home decorating. Now then, we have available for you videos. And by the way, you watch So Beautiful magazine to find out when Martha's Sewing Room will be airing on a local PBS station in your area, because we'll tell you in the magazine when that is going to happen. Now, we also are offering videos of Martha's Sewing Room, the public television series that we've just produced. There will be the first series, the 100 series, will have 3 videos. 5 shows will be on the first video, and then 4 shows on the next 2 videos. If you would like to purchase these now, they will be available in October '94. Each one of the videos is $29.95, and then there's free freight on that. We also have a program guide to go along with each series. This program guide is 266 pages long. It also is hardback. It is $23.50 with free freight. Now, the 100 series will be available in October. The 200 series of Martha's Sewing Room, along with the 3 videos and the program guide, will be available in February of 1995. As I said, you watch So Beautiful magazine to find out when Martha's Sewing Room will be aired on a local PBS station in your area. And now we have such an exciting program for you. We have lots of things to share with you, and we will have silk ribbon embroidery techniques for you right now. It seems that everyone wants to learn how to do silk ribbon embroidery. So I've asked Kathy Brower, who is embroidery editor of So Beautiful magazine, to come on this video today to teach you a few of the stitches. This is a lovely crazy patch stocking with major silk ribbon embroidery embellishing the seams, all kinds of lovely stitches. And let me tell you another little secret. On our Martha's Sewing Room television series, and of course videos, if you would rather get the videos if you don't have it on your PBS station yet, Kathy teaches different silk ribbon embroidery stitches. I believe it's every other show that she teaches a different silk ribbon embroidery stitch. So let me welcome Kathy Brower today.
Thank you.
Hey Kathy, what are you going to teach us today about silk ribbon?
I'm going to teach several basic stitches that will help you with any project that you take on with your silk ribbon, whether it be a pillow or a blanket or any gift item that you would like to do. First, I'm going to cover the basics, how to thread, different needles you might use, and then I'm going to show you how to do a straight stitch, a Japanese ribbon stitch, and a few flower petal stitches that I think will help you. And don't be intimidated by silk ribbon. It looks beautiful, it looks complicated, but once you start, it is so very easy to do, and it's quick. That's what I love about it, Martha. Okay, I would like to show you first a beautiful sample of a Christmas stocking that we have here to show you how the straight stitches and the Japanese ribbon stitches are used. Right here I have a whole flower that's just simply straight stitches. And you might think they're boring, but they are used in almost every project that you'll do. Here I also have several beautiful Japanese ribbon stitched flowers, Japanese ribbon leaves, some lazy daisy stitches, which I'll also teach you later on. I'm going to show you now how to thread your silk ribbon. Silk ribbon comes in different sizes. This is a medium size. It's the 4mm, and there's also a very tiny 2mm, and this is the 7mm, and it comes even thicker than this. But with a thicker thread, you're going to want to use a larger needle, and if you can see how big that needle is, and the eye is very large. The reason for this
is that a tapestry needle, Kathy?
Yes, it is, and it's but this is a pointed one, and instead of a blunt one, which pierces your fabric much easier, and you don't have to fight with it so much. Two reasons you use this one is it has a large enough eye to where it doesn't wrinkle your ribbon, and it's also thick enough to make a big hole in your fabric so you're not tugging and pulling. When you thread your ribbon, instead of doing it like this where it could pull out easily, what we do is we come back on the ribbon like I'm doing, and we pull it over in a loop like that. It almost looks like you're going to take a stitch in the ribbon. Pull out some of the slack and pull that down, and that keeps your ribbon from unthreading on you while you're working. Then you'll simply just knot the back, or you can go straight up from the back and leave just a little excess and maybe stitch through it to tack it down. I usually just knot it. All right, for a straight stitch, it's simply like any straight stitch. If you're sewing or darning or whatever you do, you'll simply come up at one point and go down in another. With a straight stitch, though, you want to try to keep your ribbon straight without twisting. If you're doing a stitch that requires a twist, certainly twist it, but otherwise, pull it loosely and keep it fluffy. And as you can see, that looks like the petal of a flower. For a Japanese ribbon stitch, as I've demonstrated above on this flower and on this vine, it makes beautiful petals and leaves. We're going to come back down in the thread as if we're going to take another stitch in the thread, and we're going to pull it through and just pull it ever so loosely and let it curl up on itself. Next, the next stitch I would like to show you is a very basic stitch that you'll see quite a lot in silk ribbon and on several of these samples. I've made a sample for you here. It's called the Lazy Daisy stitch. You come up in the fabric, you'll go back down in the same place that you came up, you'll pull it through, come up a little further, and wrap it around like that. Pull it up, and then you will anchor it down by putting your needle back down in the fabric, and there you have it. It's a beautiful petal. Now I'd like to show you a really easy rose to do. It's a beautiful rose. It's nice and fluffy. I think you'll really enjoy it. What you do, you start with just your basic embroidery floss, and I've drawn a very large spoke here. You'll make 5 spokes just coming from the center out to the center out to the center out all the way around. Here, I'm not sure if you can see this, I've made one out of green floss. You'll also want to use the same color of floss that you use with your ribbon. I've used green so you can see it. You will go through one, you'll go over one, under one, over one, under one, and you'll just weave your ribbon through your spokes, and you'll see as you come to the end, you see how that's making a beautiful rose right there? When you end up, it will be a nice, beautiful, fluffy rose. And it's as simple as that, and you'll just love silk ribbon because it covers so quickly and easily.
Kathy, thank you so much, and we're certainly happy to tell you that we have silk ribbon embroidery instructions not only on Martha's Sewing Room, the television series, but also in the program guide that goes along with Martha's Sewing Room. Next, we have a segment for you on making shaped puffing. Using the gathering foot to make puffing is really an easy way to do this. Curved puffing is very easy to make, and let me just show you how beautiful it is on some gorgeous garments. This is one of the christening dresses from patterns from Grandmother's Hope Chest. The curved puffing is featured around the neckline of this sweet little dress, and also I think the skirt is probably one of the most beautiful skirts I've ever seen. Let me hold it out. This is called the curved Godet puffing christening dress, and sometimes you might look at this and say, well gosh, I'm scared to make that. You won't be in the next few minutes. I have another example of curved puffing on this really, really sweet, down here on the bottom, this is loops of puffing actually, on this really sweet little day gown. And the basic pattern for this day gown is also in the Grandmother's Hope Chest book. Curved puffing is just as pretty on collars as it is on skirts, of course. This little drop-waisted dress is the pattern in many different sizes in our second program guide that goes along with Martha's Sewing Room. This curved puffing collar is almost a scalloped collar. As a matter of fact, it is a scalloped collar. And on the skirt, which is very lovely also, we have some more loops of puffing, and then it ends up in a scalloped skirt. Very easy to make, very easy to do. This curved puffing blouse is a pattern from our Heirloom Sewing for Women book. This blouse pattern is in size 2 to 24, I might add. Do you see the lovely, I call this candle flame puffing? Do you see the curved puffing that goes into a candle flame? Now let me turn it around for you and show you how beautiful it is on the back. More candle flame puffing, and actually I used the sewing machine gathering foot to make this puffing. Let me sit down and show you just how easy it is to make this curved puffing using the foot on the sewing machine. Okay, here I have my teaching boards. Now then, this is the puffing that I have run the gathering on with the gathering foot of the sewing machine. Now, let's see how you trace it onto the bottom of a skirt or on the collar or whatever. Do you see a little close up here? Now look, I have drawn off the lines for the insertion, the lace insertion, and the puffing and lace insertion. I've drawn the template onto my garment. The next little teaching board I have here, I pin this puffing exactly as I would lace. And by the way, before you sew any of this that we're using a lace shaping board to pin, you absolutely have to remove it from the board. Do not sew through the board. Although if you're using a skinny board, it would go through the sewing machine, but remember to take it off the board. Now look, this curved the puffing I've curved is kind of floppy here. You see there, it's kind of floppy. So I have a magic trick to show you on how to make this floppy puffing lay down. It's called smush it down. Take your hand and just go boink, boink, and look what happens magically. You see this curvy stuff that's sitting up like when you curve lace, it sits up too. If you just mash it down like that, it will go in place. I've shaped the puffing now. Here it is, nearly finished after I shape the puffing. Then I come in and I shape my laces around. Let me see, that one's kind of caught out there, so I'll pull it back. Then I shape my laces around. Now, here is the collar I showed you a few minutes ago on that lovely ecru dress, the pattern to which is in the 200 series program guide from Martha's Sewing Room. Now, here is how you curve puffing, sticking the pins in a board. For the collar, you see I have the collar drawn off here, and then you remove it from the board and stitch it. Now I have some circular puffing here, already circular puffed, and I have the laces pinned around it, but let me share with you how easy it is to use the gathering foot. Now, when I use the gathering foot to make puffing, I start in about 1 inch. I don't ever start on the very edge. I also move over a little bit. Can you see how I did not move the gathering foot on the edge of the fabric, but rather I moved the fabric over just a little bit? Now leave long tails. I also have long tails when I use the gathering foot, long tails of the thread. Now then, I'm going to puff and puff and puff and puff. And since this is a Swiss batiste, I only have the stitch length set on about 2.5. By the way, you use a straight stitch when you're using the gathering foot on a sewing machine to make your puffing, your gathering foot puffing. Now then, I'm using a 2.5 stitch length. It depends on your fabric, what stitch length you will use. And then I'm just going to puff and puff and puff and puff. It makes perfect puffing every time and truly takes all of the work out of making puffing when you do it this way with a gathering foot on the sewing machine. All right, now remember I told you I want long tails, so I'm going to pull the thread way out and clip a long tail. And then in order to run the puffing on the other side, I simply move the fabric over. I do not start on the very edge. I move in about an inch. I move over a little bit, and I very slowly and carefully, when I'm going down the other side, it's a little more difficult to hang on to because you have puffing on the other side already. You know, people kind of laugh at me and say, Martha, do you call the gathering foot a puffing foot all the time? Yeah, I do, because I use the gathering foot so much for puffing and for ruffles. Do you see how easy that is to make a strip of beautiful, perfect puffing every time? Well, look at there. That is the easiest way to make puffing. Next, we would like to share with you how to make the ever-popular technique, Madeira applique on the sewing machine, and we have an easy method for you. We We have had so many requests for techniques on Madeira applique by machine. Actually, we have one complete show in Series 2 of Martha's Sewing Room on this topic, and we're going to have a segment for you today also. This little dress has a Madeira applique border collar. This is another very popular technique that people want to learn how to do, with a little bit of silk ribbon embroidery trim. And if you'll look down at the skirt of this little dress, you will see a lovely Madeira applique by machine, of course, scallop around the hem too. This lady's blouse, by the way, this square collar blouse is one of the 4 blouse patterns in the Heirloom Sewing for Women book, size 2 to 24. And as you can see, it has a wonderful Madeira applique border on the collar of the blouse. Using the same pattern from the Heirloom Sewing for Women book, this shows you a little bit different version. The Madeira applique border on this blouse is organdy on organdy and stitched in a wonderful gold thread. You can also use the Madeira applique technique making a lovely detachable collar, in this case a dark beige with a black border around it. I have asked a very special guest to be with me today, Louise Baird, who is applique editor for So Beautiful magazine. Welcome to the show, Louise.
Thank you, Martha. I'm glad to be here. What I'm going to show today is a handkerchief using the Madeira applique border. The border is the same, is used the same as the collar border. To start with, after you draw your pattern, trace it onto your applique fabric, and then place some water-soluble stabilizer on top of your pattern and stitch around with a very short, straight stitch.
And you've stitched around that pattern.
And I've already stitched around it. The short stitch helps you when you're going to turn your border. After stitching the inside, then place the applique or base fabric to the wrong side and stitch again on the stitching line. Then trim close to the edges, clip the corners, and then you need to trim away just the applique fabric for the inside of the border. After the applique fabric is removed, the collar is turned right side out. And this is where a point turner also comes in handy so that you get a nice smooth edge. After the border is placed right, then lift up the water-soluble stabilizer and start turning it to the right side. You can see that the stabilizer will give you a facing so that it will be easier to turn once you've got the facing on. This sample, I've already stitched several different samples instead of with the matching thread in contrasting thread, just so that you can see what they look like. So right now I'm going to stitch some on this collar that I'm ready to stitch on, and in this case I am using a pin stitch where it goes back and forth, and I like to use a large size needle or even a wing needle. I have really starched this fabric, so therefore I do not need to place a stabilizer underneath it like I ordinarily would. After you go completely around, this can be your finished napkin. Now on my sample, I placed a medallion, and the way that I did that was just had a circle that I cut. I did place a bee in it that I embroidered, stitched around with water-soluble stabilizer on the right side, turn it around using the stabilizer, and again a point turner and an iron is very helpful. And since I've marked an X in my fabric that I'm going to applique onto it, and I have an X in my fabric, it's easier to match it up. And you can see that this will fit nicely, and again use your applique, Madeira applique stitch when you to apply it down. This is a sample that I've used so that you can see the difference. If you do not want to use just the heirloom type fabrics, you can do this on a dress with calicos and different fabrics. Have a border around the collar like this. When I do a collar, instead of cutting my collar out, I'll usually just trace it onto my fabric and stitch around it, and then cut away when I'm finished. And the cutting line will then create my collar.
Well, Louise, thank you so much for sharing this Madeira applique on the sewing machine. And next, we're going to share with you really detailed instructions on making shark's teeth. Perhaps the most popular technique that we have ever presented in So Beautiful magazine is one called shark's teeth. I want to do a reasonably long segment for you, actually sewing it and showing you a couple of ways of doing it. This little shark's teeth christening dress is the Princess Line christening dress, the antique adaptation that comes from our Grandmother's Hope Chest book. It has the shark's teeth all the way down the front of the little antique panel. Shark's teeth is not just for little girls. Shark's teeth can be for little boys too. And you know, even in our sweepstakes, we've had several really good-looking boy things come in. As you can see, the 3 little rows of shark's teeth come right down the front of this adorable little boy's outfit. On this beautiful little blue dress, shark's teeth are on the little front panel that goes down the side of the front. And once again, let me hold up the skirt so you can see this. Shark's teeth are on the skirt of this pretty little blue Swiss batiste dress. Shark's teeth don't have to have quite so many teeth in them, as is evidenced by this lady's skirt. Shark's teeth can just have a few little teeth. Now, can you see what I'm trying to say there? Here's a little shark's teeth over here, and then here's some more shark's teeth over here. This would make it a lot faster to do. The fewer the teeth, the faster the shark's teeth goes. This dress has shark's teeth only on the sleeves. An elegant linen dress with just a little bit of shark's teeth on the sleeves. Isn't this a good-looking way for a lady to be all dressed up? Now come on over to the sewing machine with me and let's look at a couple more ideas for shark's teeth. This little doll dress is absolutely precious. It is one of the doll dresses with a long-waisted line, which is featured in the second series, the 200 series from Martha's Sewing Room. And you see this doll dress just has a few little shark's teeth. This is another beautiful shark's teeth pillow. I've had this pillow for a long time. As a matter of fact, it's been all over Australia to all the trade shows. But this pillow has shark's teeth on both sides. It's a white batiste pillow with a blue lining that shows through very, very pretty. This shark's teeth pillow cover, I haven't made it into a pillow yet, has shark's teeth on both sides and then Swiss beading down the middle. Okay, let's go through the technique on shark's teeth. First of all, you have the template. The template is found 3 places that I know of. In the Summer 1991 So Beautiful magazine, in Grandmother's Hope Chest book, and in Heirloom Sewing for Women book. So we take the template. First of all, you have to mark your fabric with the stitching lines and the tuck lines, the fold lines. The stitching lines and the fold lines. Now see what you do? You mark the fold lines. Let me pull them up here where you can see. You press the fold lines, and then you come along and stitch the tuck in on the stitching line. All right, next step, right here, you stitch in the tucks. And you see these 1/2-inch tucks go one right on top of the other one. So I start out with a base tuck line. Now I'm going to come down here. After I do the tuck line, I take the template and trace off the template, which looks somewhat like a Christmas tree here. So I trace off the template on the tucks. And move it over a little bit. Now, everywhere I have these template lines traced, can you see all these template lines? I cut them. Let me slip my finger underneath there and show you how I cut it. Everywhere those template lines are, I cut them. Then I fold them under. I come in here and pinch them under. And by the way, if you're working with a fabric board as I am here, you can pin those under and just stick it through the fabric board. That certainly does seem to be the easiest way. You can also glue stick them. In other words, you can press them into place. I use natural fibers for shark's teeth, and then I take the iron, remember use glass head pins, and just put the iron right down on top of that and press in the shark's teeth. Then I stitch them, and this is what the completed shark's teeth look like. Now, I'm going to stitch these for you. I have these pressed in, as you can see. I have them pressed in. One way of stitching shark's teeth is simply, now you've got to start all the way over on the very edge. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have enough time to. But I'm just doing a zigzag stitch, and I'm going all the way across there. As a matter of fact, you can do a tiny zigzag, or you can do a straight stitch going all the way across there. Just stitch really close to the edge. There we go. With the shark's teeth laying out on the sewing machine. Now, you see what I did? I had the shark's teeth laying out on the sewing machine. Another way you can stitch this, let me go ahead and cut this thread here. And another way you can stitch it, which is really just as good, is after your shark's teeth are folded in, you can come in and stitch all the way through the other layer. That holds it maybe, and you can do a straight stitch or a tiny zigzag. And you stitch all the way through both layers in this particular case, you see, and it does not matter if you straight stitch or tiny zigzag. And that is how you do shark's teeth. That is as simple as it is to do shark's teeth. And you know what I have for you next? A sweet little T-bonnet that is so easy to make. I'm going to share with you one of the sweetest little baby gifts, well, for little girls. I'm sure I wouldn't put this on a boy. A sweet little baby girl gift that takes almost no time to do because it is so easy. This is a little T-bonnet. You see, it's shaped like a T. Actually, when I open it up, it is like a T. Let me share with you how easy it is to make this bonnet. I start out with 2 strips of Swiss embroidered insertion. Now, if you have a wonderful sewing machine with all those gorgeous embroidery stitches on it, please do go ahead and make your own embroidered insertion. You see, that might give you an excuse to buy one of these fabulous new sewing machines. Now look, the next step, using Martha's Magic lace to flat fabric, attach insertion to your embroidered insertion, and insertion, make one long piece which goes from earlobe to earlobe on the baby, and then one short piece which is the T which goes in the back of this bonnet. Now, after that, serge all of these ends, all 4 ends of the bonnet, but gathered lace up, and simply zigzag your gathered lace all the way around the long piece and around 3 sides of the short piece. You don't need any gathered lace there because that's where we're going to attach it. After you zigzag your lace all the way around, then simply slip your T-bonnet portion up underneath your long portion right in the center, zigzag it together, and then, of course, you have to put your ribbons on. You sew your little ribbon on each side to tie under the chin, and then you sew another little piece of ribbon on each side of the T-bonnet so you can tie your little bonnet there. I have a special surprise for you for the rest of this video. We're going to give you a sneak preview of Martha's Sewing Room. As a matter of fact, we've pulled some very special segments for you. We have a segment for you where Kathy McMakin will be sharing everything you ever wanted to know about making crazy patch. It's so easy and so much fun. We have a doll dress for you in a doll technique section, because remember, we have a doll section on every show of Martha's Sewing Room. We have a wool embroidery stitch for you where Esther Randall will be teaching you a wool embroidery stitch. We have a home decorating section. Gosh, we do that on every show. We have a craft for you, and one of my favorite parts of every television show is when I go into my attic, look into my grandmother's trunk, and pull out some antique treasures to share with you. So, for your sneak preview of Martha's Sewing Room, our new television series, produced in conjunction with the University of Alabama Center for Public Television, here we go. Crazy Patch begins with a base fabric such as muslin and some pieces of your absolute favorite colors of other types of fabrics. I've started with a 5-sided piece of fabric, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the middle of my crazy patch. I have taken another piece, any size will do, placed it on top of the printed fabric, and I've stitched from side to side, and then I press it open. That's step number 2. Here I have taken a piece of pink fabric, put it over the first 2 pieces of fabric, stitched it, and then I come back here and trim away, as you can see, I trim away the blue fabric, I press it open. I've done the same thing with a piece of green fabric, place it down face to face, stitch from underside fabric to underside fabric, trim away the blue fabric, open it up and press it, and that is the way I build my crazy patch, going around the different sides of that original 5-sided piece of fabric. Today I have invited Kathy McMakin, construction editor of So Beautiful magazine, to be my guest. Kathy has planned the most wonderful Christmas stocking for you. Hi Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's great to be here. Today we are going to do a Christmas stocking, and as you can see, we have traced off the Christmas stocking onto a piece of muslin, and we have a 5-sided figure, just as Martha told you before, right in the center of our traced off stocking. You start with that 5-sided piece, and then the next thing you need to do is add another piece, and we're going to work in a clockwise direction because it just looks better when you work in a clockwise direction, and it keeps it from looking like strip quilting. So let's sew this. We're going to start at the beginning of the under piece, and we're going to sew to the end of the under piece.
Kathy, did you choose the taffeta fabrics for any particular reason, or the shiny fabrics?
Martha, we just really like the look of Crazy Patch when it's done with these types of fabrics.
It looks very Victorian to me, using those wonderful, shiny, fabulous fabrics.
It really does.
Especially for a Christmas stocking.
That's exactly right. Okay, and then once you have that sewn, you are going to fold this piece back, and then you can press it. So it works very nicely. Let's see. Then we have our next piece, and if you'll notice, this is the piece that we just sewed, but if you'll notice, you can't see the stitching here. That's because we have used a nylon or invisible thread, and then we'll just press this back, and that's what we've already shown you. Then we'll get ready to do the red piece, but before we do the red piece, if you'll notice, when we lay the red piece on, we can stitch it, and then we'll trim away the excess yellow piece before we press this back. Ooh, and then we can press this back. Yes, you can see it just come to life. Then we have the turquoise piece we're going to place down here. We'll sew it in. We'll press it back this way. And then next, and as you can see, we are working in a clockwise directions just as we've told you before. Then we'll add this beautiful piece of rose water stained taffeta. We stitch it in place. Then don't forget to trim away your excess of your under pieces, and then you press it in place. And then if you want to add an accent of some kind, like a cuff of the stocking in a different color or a solid color so it will accent that particular direction, then we'll just add a whole solid piece up here at the top. And we can stitch that, and then it will look like this. And as you can see, we have finished off our whole stocking, and we have a piece that's stuck in down here at the bottom because we want to accentuate this part down here because it's the heel of the stocking, and sometimes you'll end up with Crazy Patch with a place that you just can't fit a scrap into. And the easiest way to fit one in there is just to take a piece of fabric and fold back the corners, and then you can take it and place it in the direction that you would like for it to be placed on your fabric, and then we can just top stitch on this, or we can use a decorative stitch of some kind, and we can go right over the edges of this, and it will just look beautiful when you finish.
Kathy, it looks to me like this is just ready for all of the silk ribbon embroidery embellishment.
You're exactly right,
Maybe
Martha.
a name written across the top and those wonderful alphabets on the sewing machine.
That's exactly right.
I have some Christmas stockings over here. This one is made out of new fabrics. Both of these Christmas stockings are made out of very old Crazy Patch, As a matter of fact, the Crazy Patch quilts were almost completely destroyed, but never mind, you can still buy pieces in an antique store that are almost completely destroyed. Take the pieces that are still good and turn them into something lovely. Embellishing Crazy Patch may be the most wonderful part of Crazy Patch. I would look at the top of this stocking, and in a beautiful gold metallic thread using the built-in monograms in your sewing machine is the word Kathy. A little piece of lace comes right in next over these pieces. Another little piece of lace is curved. I've used pearls all the way around the edge. I think your imagination, just the sky, is the limit on what you can do to embellish Crazy Patch. I now have a little bit different form of Crazy Patch to show you in our Heirloom Quilt Square of the week. Our doll dresses for this show are designed to fit German, French, and modern dolls. But you know what? You could use any one of these dresses and adapt them to any pattern for a dress for your child or a dress for yourself. Following our scallops theme for today, our beautiful raven-haired, brown-eyed doll is wearing a scalloped dress, a very lovely skirt. As you can see, the skirt has 3 levels of scallops, very, very elegantly done with gathered lace around the bottom. Traveling up the dress, I would like for you to notice the scalloping that is right around the waistline of this dress. This really makes the doll dress look as if it is a pinafore bib, and yet it isn't. This is just lace stitched down right on the dress. There is another little scallop treatment over here on the sleeve, making a very sweet little circle. And since doll dresses are so tiny, we have another little trick. I have used entredeaux with the silk ribbon built in for my beading. Isn't this a lovely doll dress for a beautiful doll? Almost any type of doll, I believe, would really enjoy wearing this dress. I would like to go over to the board now to show you exactly how this dress was put together. This particular board gives you the details. We've stitched it in purple thread. Most likely I'm not going to use purple thread on my lovely dresses for my French and German and modern dolls. However, that lets you see a little more easily what I've done. I've done 3 rows of scallops. All right, let's refresh your memory, if you will allow me to, one more time on folding in the scallops. All right, I put pins in the bottom of this board, pins in the bottom of the lace to hold it into that nice curve. I come up, I put a pin at the bottom, a pin at the top, and if you'll let me put my arm in front of you just a minute there, I'm going to fold it over and remove the pin at the bottom, and then I will travel this lace around to start pinning one more time, and that's the way I made all 3 of these rows of scallops. Now then, here's how you make a scallop skirt on the bottom. I stitch the scallops down, top and bottom, except on the bottom row, I stitch the top only. Now, there's a reason for this. In order to make this a scallop skirt, I have to trim away this fabric. So by zigzagging the top only, then I lift up the bottom of the lace and very carefully trim away the fabric, as you can see I've done over here on this row. In other words, trim away the fabric on the bottom of the skirt. Then I have a lovely scallop skirt already, and all I have to do is butt the gathered lace to it and zigzag it together, and then my skirt will be finished, and that is simply how easy it is to make a scallop skirt on the bottom for a doll or for yourself. This applique rose pillow, I think, is very elegant and very expensive looking. And guess what? It's also very easy to make. The little pillow has a border around it which looks almost like a picture frame. And then it's actually appliqued down too. It has an ecru base, a pink border, and then the appliqued rose is appliqued on top. Let's see exactly how it's put together. First of all, using a fusible under paper, you fuse down the picture frame part on the outside. Now, remember, applique is worked background to foreground. So come on back down here and let's just move these little pieces and see exactly how it's worked. I almost lost one of them underneath the pillow, didn't I? First of all, the two leaves are the most background part of the background, so we'll come in here, pull the paper off the leaf, take an iron, press it down, and do the same thing with this leaf. And then we will applique those two leaves down. Next, do the same thing to the rose, and then the number of pieces you have, do the same thing, applique it down, and then here are the other pieces, and that's all there is to it. Now we have a really exciting hot glue gun craft idea for you. Wool embroidery is a delicate and beautiful art form. I am so pleased to have today as my guest Esther Randall, author of Esther's Silk Ribbon Embroidery. Welcome to the show, Esther.
Thank you, Martha. I'm excited to be here today because French knots are so fun and versatile to do. In fact, any project that you're working on with your embroidery work, you can just French knot all the way through. Let me show you how we do it. We're going to pull, knot your thread, and when you read books about French knots, there will be 10 to 15 different directions. They're all right because you can change and interchange so much. How I do it is I wrap my thread very lightly. Don't pull it so tight that it makes it so it loses its fluff. Be gentle with it. Go right back down into the same stitch. Hold your thread down. Slightly pull on your thread, and it almost looks like water going down the drain. Another thing is that you could wrap it 2 or 3 times if you want that knot larger. Another really fun thing about working with the wool is that you can put 2 colors in one needle, and then you have that color variation, which is really wonderful. It makes wonderful clusters of grapes. You can make all sorts of fruit by drawing them so close together. You can scatter them out so it looks like baby's breath on your project. I always look at my project as I have finished it, and if there's just a little vacant spot or a little place to fill in, do it with this wonderful French knot.
Oh, Esther, thank you so much. Next, we have prepared an elegant home decorating idea for you. I adore the craft I'm going to share with you today. This particular picture frame is so easy to make, and it absolutely has just a selection of everything in the world about heirloom sewing in it. Pearls, little pearlized paint, an antique picture. It doesn't have to be somebody in your family. You can just go to the antique store and get one. This is very easy to make. Let's see how. Here is a basic mat that came out of this picture frame, which I bought at a discount store and took the glass out of. The basic mat. Next step, cut a piece of a little quilt batting to go on this mat. Now the next step, take a piece of, in this case it's Swiss Batiste, Ecru Swiss Batiste. Cut out the frame. It's very critical to come in here and clip the corners. It won't turn under very well if you don't clip the corners. Then turn the whole thing under, pin it, press it. You don't have to actually pin. I'm going to stick a pin in it here just so it will hold it a minute. Turn the whole thing under, making it pretty, and glue it good. Remember, just glue or hot glue gun it in. Then after you have folded all of this under all the way around, I see I'm going to have to pin it here since I'm just showing you real quickly. After all of this has been folded under, then the fun begins, and glue gunned, I might add. Okay, remember this is a circle show, so I have a little circle, a Swiss motif circle. I have a little Swiss motif oval. I have some fringe. The important thing is to arrange these goodies on here before you ever start gluing. In other words, I will do a little flip-flop here, just like on the bow, and tuck them around and play with it a little bit. Maybe I want to pull on part of a doily. Maybe I'll take the little lace and bring it on the outside, and it's okay if it sticks over on the picture frame. That makes it really pretty. I have some little pearls here. I'll come over on this side or maybe at the top and arrange some little pearls. I have some more little pearls will come down here. I bet you get the idea though. play with it and arrange your laces on here before you ever start any gluing. And then after you get all of the laces on here that you like, and just put them in the shape that you like them, in the order. Some more pearls might come along here, even make a circle out of pearls. Here, I'm going to bring my little circle up here. Anyway, in other words, arrange the whole thing, then glue it all down, trim it away, and this will make your mat. Another thing you might want to do, which we enjoy doing, take some of this paint stitching and make just some little pearls out of the paint stitching. It looks honestly like little ecru pearls there. It just makes little drops. A little dab will do you. You can make little flowers with that. Since we're using white and ecru on this project, we brought 2 shades of ecru and the little pearlized stuff. And that's a lot easier than sewing on pearls. It's just to come in here. Isn't this fun? Just dabbing around with paint is absolutely one of my favorite things to do. I love this picture frame. I cannot think of any present on anybody in my list, anybody that would not love the picture frame. Let's see what I have in my attic. There's a beautiful detail on this ecru silk baby coat I'm holding. This particular detail has buttonholes made, and they're used for beading. These little tiny buttonholes, and this embroidery could be very easily created on your sewing machine. A little tatting finishes the collar. This particular picture frame goes back to the little technique that we had on decorating the mats for picture frames. I just think this is beautiful. There are 5 pictures of this lady's family, and if you don't have any antique pictures of your family, you can go to the antique store and find some people to adopt, so you can make one of these frames also. She's used little pieces of her wedding dress, of her grandmother's wedding dress, silk ribbon embroidery, beads, a lovely piece of embroidery over here, and one of these little pieces of embroidery was found off of a torn up piece of linen in an antique shop, but it had just a little bit that you could use. All right, I would like to share with you a letter written to me from Helen Harbin, administrator of the Indianapolis American Sewing Guild. Helen tells about the volunteer sewing that her guild members are doing. One of our ladies makes outfits for the homeless shelter. She doesn't advertise this. I found out quite by chance. Our members as a group supply preemie gowns, caps, blankets, and burial gowns for 3 of the local Indianapolis hospitals. And she has sent a lovely little sample of the little preemie gowns. This is a little boy gown with wing needle entredeaux, and then the little boy bonnet, the little preemie bonnet, with wing needle entredeaux going around the bonnet. Thank you so much for joining me today in my sewing room. We have an exciting show planned for you next time, and I would like to invite you to join me in my sewing room next time. Thank you so much for subscribing to So Beautiful magazine. This magazine truly is your magazine, and I thank you for the privilege that we are able to bring this magazine to you. I would also like to thank the University of Alabama Center for Public Television, who has been absolutely wonderful in helping us bring Martha's Sewing Room not just to our So Beautiful subscribers, but to people all over the United States of America. We do have the videos for the first series, the first 13 shows that will be ready for you to purchase if you would like to in October. There will be 3 videos. The 13 shows will be divided up over 3 videos, and the cost for each video is $29.95, and that will be free freight on that. The program guide for the first series will also be ready in October. It is 266 pages, just loaded with patterns, all the ideas and the lesson plans for the projects we did on the first series. 266 pages. It is a hardback book. The cost of that will be $23.95, and that does include freight also. The second series, videos and books, will be ready in February 1995. We've had a wonderful time bringing this video to you. We do hope you'll come to Huntsville to our School of Art and Fashion as soon as you can, and just come to Huntsville to see us when you're down in this direction. Thank you very much for joining me today, and may God bless you until we meet again, and I hope that is very soon.